Greetings, everyone, and welcome to another video podcast edition of The Spirit Side. I had something that was running through my thoughts a little while ago, so I wanted to jump on here and do a video about it before it got lost in all the other thoughts and activities of the day. And what I wanted to talk to you guys about is religion and the near-death experience. The near-death experience, if you really, and I hope some of you will look into this as well. If you go back as far as ancient China, Egypt, as far back as we can go in recorded history, you will find accounts of the near-death experience. And they're all the same. It's all people describing seeing departed loved ones standing, in the corners of the room or at the foot of the bed. People finding themselves outside of their bodies, looking down on the activity in the room, being led through this long tunnel of light, usually accompanied by a very loving, supportive being. Sometimes they see this being as a being of light. Sometimes they sense and hear the being comforting them, but they don't always see it. And when they reach the end of the tunnel, they're brought into this other realm, this other world, this spiritual dimension that is so beautiful. It's always explained as filled with light and colors that we can't even imagine here on the earth plane. It's said that they're greeted by loved ones and other people and angelic beings of light, and it's a very loving, positive, wonderful experience. But also during these near-death experiences, people are often said to have reviewed their lives. And they say they go into it's almost like a room. And every instant of their life, from the moment they were born, from the moment that they died, goes before their eyes, almost like in an instant. Every second is played out before them. And the people watching this life review say that it's like they're living all those moments all at once. And they feel what they felt at those moments in their lives, whether the decisions were good or bad. And they also feel the emotions of the other people they affected, whether for good or for bad. And generally, there is a being there with them who asks them questions about their lives. How did they feel about what they saw? If they were given the chance to relive those moments that were not so good over again, would they change what they did? They're asked things if they felt sorry for what they did. But then often they're forgiven for their shortcomings and told that it's all right. And usually before the person experiencing the near-death experience returns to their body here in the earthly realm, they're told that love is the most important thing. Love others. Tell others to love one another. Tell others that there is a supreme being in the universe, and love, not money. Love is the law. It is the most important thing any of us can do, is love others. And these people come back and their lives are changed, whether they were business people, atheists, mean-spirited people, very religious people. They suddenly become different. Very loving, very kind. They usually bond with nature. They like quiet moments meditating in nature by themselves. And what was once important in this earthly realm is no longer important to them. It's like you hear many of us talk about here on YouTube, and many of the sages of the past say, they die to this world and the things thereof. Now, a couple of things I wanted to point out when it comes to the near-death experience is A, how could all of these experiences throughout history be explained as a dying brain? So you're telling me that every single person throughout history that has had a near-death experience hallucinated the same exact thing. That doesn't make sense. That's like saying everybody that gets a high fever, or they're sick with the flu or some other illness and they're kind of delirious, that they're all going to hallucinate and see the same things in those fever dream moments that we get when we're, pretty ill, with something like that. But we don't. We all experience different things. If we hallucinate, we see different things. Because we're all individuals, we're all different. Our brains work differently. Our lives are different. The things we believe, the things that we've seen, the experiences that we've had. Therefore, it affects our dreams or even our hallucinations. So why would all these people throughout history, millions of people, all have the same hallucination, the same experience? Why would so many doctors and scientists and quantum physicists in our day and age, very educated people, and many of them not religious, who worked in the field where they experienced people that had NDEs and seen so many of them that they said, there's something to this. This isn't completely explained by a brain that's being starved of oxygen. Some of these people have had near-death experiences themselves, and again, very educated people in the scientific community, and when they've come back, they've said, this changes everything. I know I wasn't hallucinating. I know where I was. I know what I saw. It was as real as everyday life, even more real than the life I had in this world. And these people end up writing books, doing researches, starting institutes that study NDEs, and there are these institutes popping up all over the place in our world now. I mean, there's a vast majority of people from the scientific community who are investigating this and coming up with the conclusion that this is not just the hallucinations of a dying brain at all. One of the things that really puzzles or really makes the scientific community sit up and take notice, and I forget the exact scientific term for this particular phenomenon that happens during NDEs, but it's, let's say I die. I have a heart attack right now. I fall over, I'm dead. No heartbeat, no brain activity. I'm clinically, I'm gone. I find myself outside of my body, and the first thing I think about is, oh man, I've got to let my wife know that something's wrong. So when I'm outside of my body and I think that, immediately that I think of my wife, I have to let her know something's wrong. They say that immediately I am wherever my wife is, and I'm seeing what she's doing. My wife is a teacher. She teaches special education. She teaches kids with autism. So I would see her in her classroom. I would see what she was doing with one of her students, or talking to another teacher, or the program director of her school, whatever she was doing at that moment. And then when I'm revived later on, I can explain exactly what she was doing, what she said, who she was talking to, what she was doing with what student, what the student looked like. And I'll explain that with 100% accuracy. And this has happened time and time and time again in near-death experiences. So how could a suffocating, dying, oxygen-starved brain know what someone else is doing at their job 15 miles away or 100 miles away if it happens to be a family member that's out of town or lives out of town. So the dying brain theory does not explain this phenomenon at all. And there's many other instances in the NDEs that can't be explained by just, oh, it's the dying brain, forget about it, don't worry. And going on to part 2 of this little talk, people that have had near-death experiences, it doesn't matter what their religion was or wasn't. Whether they were Christian, whether they were Muslim, whether they were Buddhist, whether they were atheist, and didn't believe anything at all. Yes, even atheists have had this very positive, loving afterlife experience after having a brush with death. Now, those people certainly believed in something when they came back, but prior to that, they did not. There are people who say that they have seen Jesus and that he is much different, more loving than our religions portray, that he even at times has a sense of humor with them. God is explained not as a man sitting on the golden throne with the long white beard, but usually God is explained as the light that's everywhere in this place. This source of light that seems to have no source, it just is. And people explain that as saying that is the presence of God that permeates everything. It's almost like he permeates this place, he is this place. Very few, I think it's something like 3% of people that have near-death experiences. It's very low that have a hell experience. And I remember reading the account, and this is one of the things that I've studied for years. I mean, probably since spring 1990, I really started studying the near-death experience, what people saw, what happened to them, the scientific explanations for all of this. And so I've read a lot of case studies, and I remember one. He was actually in a documentary. I know, he was a book. This was an account in a book. This man was in the hospital, and he ended up passing away. He flatlined. Everything was gone, dead. And he said that during that time he found himself in this very dark, dismal, hell-like place. And even though he was dead for only a few minutes in the hospital, he said he felt like he was there for years and years. He was in this dark, gloomy place. And every once in a while, he said he was like in a cave. It was very dark, it was very cold. And every once in a while, a figure would appear at the entrance of this cave-like place that he was in, and he would hunch back, he would try to hide, he was afraid, he thought it was the devil. And he said he felt like he was there for, like I said, years. And finally, one day, this figure stepped into the cave, and it was an angelic being, and it told him not to be afraid, that when people have an experience like this after death, they assign themselves to this place of gloom and fear and even nightmarish visions and apparitions, because they've done something in their life and they can't forgive themselves. They don't feel that they're worthy somehow to enter into the presence of the divine light. And the angelic being told this man, forgive yourself, you are worthy. God forgives you, forgive yourself, and you will be in his presence. And this brought the man hope and comfort and joy, and he said he did forgive himself, and he immediately found himself in that beautiful place of light with his loved ones and the colors that human eyes have not seen. And then, of course, he was, sent back to his body, and it changed his whole life. He was no longer afraid of death. Uh, he lived a completely different life after he recovered from whatever he was in the hospital for. So what does this mean? Very few, it's like 3 or 6% of people that have an NDE experience the hell experience, as they call it. Most other people, no matter what their religion is or is not, find themselves having that very loving, peaceful, joyous experience. So what does that say about our religions? Do our religions have it wrong? I know in fundamentalist Christianity, many people would say, well, it's the devil deceiving them, just, making them think everything is all right, we can do whatever we want to do. Well, that's not the case, because in many near-death experiences, people that have them are told that there are levels. There are levels of heaven or the spiritual world. Some are lower, some are higher. Some might be a little what we would think to be hellish. But we don't all go to the same level at the same time. Sometimes we might go to a very low level until we learn the lessons we didn't learn in this life. And then we progress up until we're ready and worthy to go into the divine presence. So it's like a purification kind of system that's going on there. So again, what does this say about our religions? Do we have it all wrong? Are we being deceived? I don't think so. I don't think so, because that kind of mentality, again, one who is a fundamentalist Christianity, everything was the devil. Someone could say, I was watching TV last night, sitting in my living room, and a beautiful angel of light appeared in my living room, and it just looked at me, and I felt so loved and so comforted, and it just faded away. It didn't speak a word. It was so beautiful, and I felt so wonderful after this experience. What's the first thing the fundamentalists say? Well, you better be careful, because even Satan can masquerade as an angel of light. That could have been the devil standing in your living room. Everything's the devil. According to fundamentalist religion, the devil obviously has more power than God, because he's everywhere doing everything. He's appearing as angels of light. He's doing miracles and healing people. He's intercepting souls during the near-death experience and deceiving them. And God's just sitting back going, nothing I can do about it. That's ridiculous to me. Always has been, always will be. But I say all that to say this. What do these near-death experiences say about our religions? If people of all religions have had the same positive, loving experience in the light, even people that have no religion at all had these same loving, positive experiences in the light. Could it be that we have it all wrong? Could it be that these man-made doctrines of the punishing, wrathful God, and everything's a sin and you're gonna burn, could that be just a bunch of hokum made up by men? And we have so much of it absolutely incorrect? I think it's very possible. And again, if you look at the history of the near-death experience throughout time, that we started recording history and recording these things, they're all the same. And I don't think all these people were deceived. So ladies and gentlemen, I honestly think religion, and I heard a man who was actually a Muslim say this once. He said, it doesn't matter what our religion is. He said, religion is a vehicle that takes us closer to the divine. And the vehicle that we use to get closer to the divine in whatever religion we're practicing is love. It's kindness. It's forgiveness. it's peace. And man, that just resonated with me. Because I really feel, I don't think God is sitting there watching all the people in the world going, well, that one's not a Christian, that one's not a Christian, that one's not a whatever. So everybody else is going to hell, even though they're good people. They don't have the right religion, so, too bad for them. I never bought that. I never bought that, and I never will, because I don't think that's God. That would be like God predestining people to burn in hell, to lose out on his presence because he saw fit to make them be born in a country where the religion is not Christian, Jewish, Muslim, pagan, Hindu, whatever. I don't think it matters what your religion is. I think it's how you behave, what you take from your religion. Does it help you, as the Muslim man once said, does it help you use the vehicles of love and kindness and forgiveness and peace to get you closer to the presence of God? Because that's what God wants from each and every one of us. So could it be that a person who has no religion at all, an atheist, the people that everyone hates, all the atheists, but if they're a good person and they live by the universal law of love, they too can and will have that beautiful spiritual experience in the light when they leave this world? I believe that they can. I don't believe that the divine spirit discriminates. I don't think he's mean and evil and rotten and just looking for an excuse to send people into this fire that burns them alive for all eternity. I just don't believe that. So, again, what do these near-death experiences say about our religions as we have constructed them here in this world? I think they say it doesn't matter what we call ourselves or how we practice, or if we practice not at all. Just be good people. Just be good people, and you will receive the just reward and experience afterwards. So again, I hope this gives some of you something to think about. It certainly makes me think. It made me think years ago when I began the study of near-death experiences and read how so many people of so many different beliefs or no beliefs at all had these wonderful experiences, and it really brought that scripture alive for me, that God is no respecter of men. And could that be what that means? Could that be, that God doesn't love or respect or favor us because of the religious badge we wear on our shirt or what we call ourselves? But he judges, and I don't like to use that word, or I would rather say he looks at us and is pleased with us when we're walking by love, in love for our fellow human beings, and living the best life we can, no matter what religion we practice. Love is the law. So let me know what you all think about this. I'm sure some of you will agree, some will disagree, and that's fine, but I would hope one day, with this new spiritual revolution that's happening on the earth, and so many people that are talking about love and preaching love and a God of love and changing the way we treat one another, that hopefully one day, very soon, we'll all be living by that higher law and those higher morals that the law of love can bring into our hearts and into our world and the world beyond this world. I'm Paul James Caden. I thank you for watching. Until next time, I bid you love and peace.